Hi everyone, welcome back. It's June, and you know what June means? That's right, E3. And you know what E3 means? That's right, excessive musical sequences. Or is that the country bears? I don't know. E3 is an annual trade show for the video game industry. Companies from all over the world come to Los Angeles every year to showcase their new games and consoles. Over the years, we've seen various trailers for some of the most hotly anticipated games being pulled out at the last moment, and also an alarming amount of just dance. E3 operates a convention-style show floor for members of the press, industry associates, and sometimes fans to walk around and try out some of the latest games. But the main draw for fans are the press conferences, where companies like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo show off what they have to offer each year. If you have an interest in gaming, chances are you've seen at least one of these conferences. Or maybe you've just seen all the E3 cringe compilations on YouTube. You see, there's something about the way that these big companies are constantly trying to relate to their audience and be down with gamer culture that makes these conferences so difficult to watch. So in this video, I want to take a look back at my favorite cringy moments from E3 and ask the question, why is E3 so awkward? So instead of showing a trailer and leaving it at that, sometimes companies like to show a live demo of their game at E3 to show how it might be played. Or maybe just to show that they have actually made something and they're not just showing you a video instead. But the thing is, when you do that, you've got to make sure that the demo actually works.
Quiet. We will start over.
Nothing is worse for a company than showing off a product on stage and it breaking. Because it doesn't matter how good it is, if it breaks on stage, that's all anybody's gonna remember. And for some reason, this happens at E3 way too often. Like when The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword was demoed on stage to show how much more accurate and precise the Wii Motion Plus was. And then it wasn't.
I can use my shield to block his rocks. And if I do a shield bash, then I can knock the rocks back at him. Uh-oh.
A lot of the problems that happen on stage in these conferences seem to be down to companies trying to do too much at once. They want to make everything a big spectacle, but that means that ultimately there's always a risk for something to go horribly wrong. And even if it does go smoothly, all it really seems to do is end up distracting you from the games you came to see in the first place. I think the Sony conference in 2008 was a really good example of how you should make your conference. It wasn't super over the top, they had just one guy leading most of the event. There were presentations about games and technology that Sony was releasing. There were plenty of trailers. They did have a live demo, but they didn't overdo it. All in all, it was a pretty relaxed but informative conference. Sony wasn't trying to show off how cool a company it was, it just showed you what you came to see. Nintendo's conference, on the other hand...
Yeah, that was tasty.
Yeah! Is that you?
Oh yeah. Nice run. That's all right. Done.
Nintendo's 2008 conference was hated by fans because of its hyperfixation on casual games. Some new stuff for the balance board was demoed, they talked about the DS for a bit, they unveiled Wii Motion Plus, and nobody cared.
What this small accessory does is make the Wii Remote more precise, more responsive, more intense. It's called Wii Motion Plus.
Reggie, don't let them do you dirty like this. They try and give a demo of Wii Motion Plus using Wii Sports Resort, and just like Skyward Sword, one of the very first things it does is not work.
Okay, Cammy, you don't even have to press a button.
Okay.
Just swing your arm to throw the disc.
Okay, Peach, you ready?
And we'll see how your puppy
Okay, let's
responds.
go, girl. Let me do a little, line it up. I was never very good at this, and, Oh, Reggie, you gotta admit, is that the most adorable game you've ever seen?
You know, it's kind of cute, it's kind of okay, but I want to show the group something that's a little bit more my speed.
Okay, Reggie, sure. You don't like Frisbee, fine, that's okay. Show us what's your speed.
Wow.
Oh.
Whoa, Reggie, you weren't kidding. Better be careful there, Reggie, you don't want to go too fast.
You really like that throttle, don't you, Reggie?
Reggie, I'm serious. Slow down. Reggie, what are you doing?
Yes.
Reggie, there's a truck in the water. Look out. Reggie, stop! Of course, Nintendo saved the biggest reveal of the conference for last, and I think it was a game we were all waiting for. It's not Zelda, It's not Mario, it's Wii Music. The Wii Music segment goes on for way too long. I said at the start of the video that a key feature of E3 was excessive musical sequences, but I didn't really mean ones that sounded like this. They bring out a drummer to play imaginary drums, which I guess was supposed to be impressive, but it sort of feels like one of those moments where somebody brings an acoustic guitar to a party and forces people to listen to them, and you're too polite to say anything, so you just have to sit there. Oh yeah, great job. Oh, you're not done. Even the Miis don't look impressed. A group of people then play the Super Mario theme together, but they can't keep time, even though these instruments are virtual, so I don't know how that works. I can't be too mad though. The guy on the left looks like he's having such a good time, it's actually kinda cute. Moving on from Nintendo for now, in the early 2010s there was this real trend of hiring actors to pretend to be gamers during these live demos. I touch upon this briefly in my motion controls video, because Microsoft in particular loved to do this when they were showing off the Kinect. And I don't know what it is about when these actors have to pretend to be friends with each other, but none of these people seem real. Video game marketing executives must be seriously out of touch if they think this is what their target audience sounds like.
Yeah! Look at the water! We can go anywhere!
There's a really awkward one for The Division, where they're trying to emphasize the co-op elements of the game, so they have a bunch of friends play together, talking to each other over voice chat.
There you are.
Hey guys, I brought Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, scoping out the area up ahead.
Okay, we're about to unlock my base. It's up here on the right.
But the voice lines are clearly pre-recorded, because the guy playing the demo is just standing there on stage with an Xbox controller and not talking to anybody. Are we supposed to buy this? Obviously, I understand why they choose to use actors instead of real gamers. Modern Warfare 2 at E3, played by a real Modern Warfare lobby, would be interesting. But there is this really strange middle ground this lies in, where it's trying to convince you it's real, while at the same time sounding completely unnatural. But if you decide you don't want to use actors for your demos, you could always just do it yourself.
A diamond! Well, clearly, you did that just for the achievement.
Yep, an Xbox Live achievement on an iPad on stage at E3.
Or maybe not.
Mind if I join in?
Not you too, John Carmack. Not you too. There's definitely a dilemma these companies face between whether you want your conference presented by a person who's really good at presenting but doesn't really know much about games, or somebody who knows a lot about games but is maybe not so good at presenting. I really don't understand what the obsession is with taking a clearly scripted presentation and trying to pass it off as a natural conversation. You're on stage at E3. You're not just hanging out in a theatre when all of a sudden all these people show up. But if you don't want hired actors and you don't want to present yourself, there is a third option you could go for, because you could always hire a celebrity to present for you. Hiring a celebrity can be a good idea. The recognisable face can point people's attention towards your new game, but oftentimes they can be really out of place. E3 has a habit of rolling out the strangest people who seemingly have nothing to do with the game that they're trying to sell. A lot of these celebrities look like they really do not want to be there. Like Jose Mourinho, who was pulled out on stage as part of a FIFA presentation. I was looking this up and I was really surprised at just how many celebrities have made appearances over the years. Zac Efron and Jamie Foxx were there and looked like they wanted to be literally anywhere else. Robin Williams did a demo of Spore. Elijah Wood presented the game Transference.
In Transference, we're bringing a... No.
There was also Keanu Reeves, who was of course brought on stage to present Cyberpunk 2077, and Elon Musk was brought on stage as part of a really weird conference with Todd Howard, where they pretended to be friends and then avoided answering questions.
This is a question for both of you actually. You mentioned failures before. What's the actual biggest failure that you've gone through to get to where you are?
Question?
Who goes first?
That's a tricky question. It's funny, it's an interview question I ask people.
Right.
And I don't...
You don't know your response.
But my favourite E3 cameo of any sort was from YouTuber Jesse Wellens. So Jesse was brought out by EA to present the new Need for Speed game. But according to him, they changed the script on him multiple times, so when the cameras finally rolled, it's safe to say that he wasn't ready.
What up, guys?
I really like how he's facing in the wrong direction at the start and then suddenly jolts and has to spring into action.
What up, guys? Thank you for having me, EA. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Jesse Wellens, and I am a YouTube creator. So I am here to talk about Need for Speed Payback. If you guys didn't know, Need for Speed Payback, yeah, it's a great game.
Have you ever had to do a presentation for school where you forgot to do any preparation? So when it's your turn to go up, you just have to kind of wing it? Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to E3 2021 by me, George Browning. I'm gonna show you some of the latest games coming out. So, next slide please. That's too far, go back one. Okay. Need for Speed. Yeah, Need for Speed Payback. Need for Speed Payback. So click to add. Oh, I don't know why that's... Okay, never mind. I'm already more than 1,500 words into my script, and I haven't even scratched the surface of E3 cringe. It seems that everywhere you look, there's another awkward moment or technical mishap. In fact, I can't even get away from them. Every time I open my fridge, there's another E3 cringe compilation waiting for me. Mr. Caffeine was supposed to be this upbeat and energetic presenter at Ubisoft's 2011 conference, but really rubbed everyone the wrong way with terrible jokes and uncomfortable delivery. The EA 2013 conference had this moment.
I'd say I was speechless, but I have one more thing to announce. Coming this year, Peggle 2!
There are so many more that I could mention, but none of them could ever be quite as awkward as the last thing I want to talk about. It's the E3 moment to end all E3 moments. It's the Konami 2010 conference. The entire thing. At the start of the conference, Konami's head of American marketing warns everyone in the audience that this is being broadcast live.
Lastly, because we're doing a live broadcast, any noise that you make in the room will be broadcast on the internet live. So be conscious of that. If not, you might end up on the internet in a sound at least, and we don't want that to happen. So please, yeah, you don't want to do that.
You better not cough, you better not applaud, you better not breathe, because that sound's going to end up on the internet, and trust me, we do not want that to happen. It's almost like he's warning them that they might accidentally become a meme, which is ironic because that's what happened with this entire press conference.
Can we roll the trailer, please?
And the train wreck begins. I would really recommend you watch the entire thing because it is wild. Some Mexican wrestlers come out and just kind of awkwardly stand around. A high school choir performs Queen to advertise a Glee video game. There's this guy. Just this guy. Usually in these conferences there are a handful of awkward moments, but then the rest of it is okay. But Konami really raised the bar on this one by making every moment an awkward moment. Maybe if they got Jesse Wellens to present, things might have gone smoother. So why is E3 so awkward? What is it about it that makes it a breeding ground for cringe? You know, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it was never really intended to be a public event. E3 originated as a trade show for industry insiders, investors, and members of the press. It's only over time, with the increased attention that gaming now gets thanks to the internet, that it's unintentionally morphed into a consumer-facing show. I'm not saying that people didn't watch E3 back in the day, because they did. But even 10 years ago, there was still more of a focus for providing information for retailers, investors, and the media than for individual gamers. You can see that in Sony's old conferences when they talk about sales numbers, or even in Konami's 2010 conference when they mention retail chains. News about new video games used to come from members of the media through their websites, gaming magazines, and even TV shows. But in a large part thanks to live streaming on Twitch and the spread of news through other social media platforms, gaming news is becoming increasingly direct to consumer. And I think a lot of companies that were used to giving standard press conferences at E3 just weren't prepared for that. They felt compelled to make a new spectacle for their audience, but missed the mark completely and created these bumbling performances that are half boring corporate talk, half cringe comedy. They are starting to get the hang of it though. I feel like E3 has become less awkward in recent years as presenters have got used to the format. There still are classic E3 moments, but they're less frequent and just not as bad. Nintendo have now decided to simply forego the traditional conference altogether, by now just showing a bunch of trailers digitally through Nintendo Direct. Sure, it's kind of sad that we no longer get My Body Is Ready, but I think it's a good idea. It gets to the point and it doesn't treat the consumer like an idiot. Most of the time. In fact, maybe this is the future of E3. Get rid of the fanfare and unnecessary spectacle and just give the information in a concise, simple format. Maybe E3's outgrown itself and now we all expect too much of it. Maybe companies need to stop pandering so heavily and just treat the consumer like an adult. Maybe consumers should take a step back and see E3 for what it is. A bunch of press conferences you don't really need to get too worked up about. Maybe I should spend the first nice week of summer doing something other than writing a 2,500 word script about E3. Yeah, maybe I should stop worrying about video games and go outside instead.